Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Setup's a little bit different today. I now have an island and I'm very happy with it. My dad built this. I helped put the tabletop on because we actually built it down here. Hopefully me hitting it while talking has not messed up my audio, but this tabletop is 42 inches tall because I'm a tall man, so this just makes working on a counter so much easier versus my normal countertops. Pretty low, have to do a little bit of hunching, whereas this, very comfortable, me having my chopping board on top of it. It's like the perfect height. I'm loving it. However, this now changes up my kitchen dynamic. I now can put my camera a little bit further away so you can see this. I don't have my mic on me, it's on this little tripod thing here, so hopefully the audio quality is good. But we're gonna be trying something different today because usually I do like a prep step and I run through the ingredients. I pre-prepped everything and I'm gonna kind of do like a show and tell. We're gonna see how that feels because, you know, trying new creative things is always nice. I have pretty much everything. My entire setup is different. It's shifted over about 5 feet and you're about 5 feet back as well. So hopefully it's good. I'm excited to try it, but I will only know if it's good or not when I start editing. So if it's bad, I am sorry, but we're gonna have to roll with it. I also got my recipe right here. Everything's all laid out. I'm loving the table. It's great, just so organized. So why don't we run through the ingredients for queso, because that's what we're making today. First up, red onions, diced. Then jalapenos, also diced. 2 tablespoons of butter. 8 ounces of cream cheese diced up into 1-inch cubes. 2 tablespoons of cilantro. We have pepper jack, 8 ounces, as well as mild cheddar, 8 ounces. It says shredded, but I just diced them up because we're gonna be melting it, so this will probably be fine. I just didn't feel like getting my shredder dirty. 1 cup of cherry tomatoes. I cut them up into 8ths, but the recipe says quarter them. These are just kind of big, so that's why I went with the 8ths. 3 cloves of garlic. It's gonna be half a teaspoon of salt, but it's gonna be divided into 2 different instances of a 1/4 teaspoon, so be mindful of that. 3/4 cup of whole milk. A dash of some hot sauce, and I found that Texas Pete is certified gluten-free, so I'm not sponsored by them, but I do appreciate the work you're doing. Speaking of certified gluten-free things, these corn tortilla chips are also certified gluten-free, so I appreciate Calidad. If I said your brand name right, thank you. Once again, not sponsored, but I mean, if you wanna, hit me up. So that was a run through the ingredients. I don't know how that flow is gonna feel to you. I don't know if you guys enjoy seeing me like doing all that chopping and prepping. I will probably do that for some stuff in the future. Just the recipe for today feels like I should just kind of have everything prepped already and then we'll just dump stuff into the pan because it's a pretty simple recipe, so I figured keep it simple. You know how to dice stuff, but maybe for a more complex recipe, I'll show you those steps along with like more simple like chopping and whatnot. But let's get into cooking. So the first step is going to be in a small Dutch oven, which hopefully is big enough because in the past I have misjudged the size of things. But fingers crossed, nothing bad happens. In that small Dutch oven, we're going to melt the butter and then we're going to add the onions and the onion and the jalapeno along with 1/4 teaspoon of the salt. So remember, half of the salt. And cook that up about 45 minutes. We want it to be tender, translucent. Well, the onion's translucent. If the jalapeno goes translucent, you've done something wrong. And then after that, we're going to add in the garlic for about 30 seconds because garlic cooks really quick. And then you are done with the first step. The next step is to add the milk and the cream cheese to the Dutch oven, and then we're going to just kind of like stir that up until the cream cheese is melted. It should take about 5 minutes. The next step is going to be to reduce the heat down to low. Granted, I don't think the recipe ever said what heat it should have been at previously. I'm gonna guess medium based on context clues, but low heat, and then we're going to add a handful of the cheese, stir that up, let it melt, and then add another handful, rinse and repeat until all the cheese has melted. And next we want to add the tomatoes, the cilantro, a little dash of hot sauce, and then the other 1/4 teaspoon of the salt. I'm gonna stir that all up. If it's a little too thick for you, you can thin it out with some more milk. It says you don't want the mixture to be, I think it says gloppy, it's like Gloppy, I think is in the recipe. Don't know if that's an actual word, but if that's the case, whatever that definition, I'm assuming it's like chunky, you actually need to turn up the heat a little bit so the cheese just hasn't fully melted. So turn that up, obviously keep stirring, and then, you know, you pretty much have queso now. Well, actually you do have queso because this is the last step of cooking. And here we have it. We got the chips open, we got the queso on my granite little board thing. I mean, I call it little, this thing weighs a ton. I wish I had the camera on for when I moved it from over there to here. It was a bit of a struggle. I mean, first off, just getting your fingers underneath of it. I have little feet on it, so it's off the table a bit, but not quite enough to get like your hand under, so it's just your fingertips, and you're trying to lift this whole thing and then putting it back down, try not to crush your fingers. Next time I'll try and get a video of that. But this is convenient because I can now display a hot vessel for you guys without having to worry about messing up my countertop. And enough rambling about stones. Let's try some queso. It is still quite hot, so that might have burnt off some of the taste buds, but it's tasty. The one thing that I kind of hold against it is, I want to use the word grainy, but that makes me feel like it's more solid, like granular things than what it actually is. It just has kind of like a texture to it, rather than being like silky smooth. Like, because I've never made queso, but like from a restaurant, it just kind of like coats your mouth and is like very like creamy and uniform, whereas this kind of has a bit of some texture to it. I don't know if that's like me not heating it enough, like maybe that's like little bits of cheese that still need to melt, or maybe it's I overheated it and it like curdled a little bit. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Maybe it needs to have like cornstarch added to it. I don't know. I might look at some other queso recipes to see if they do anything to try and like make it smoother. But taste-wise, delicious. Because of the granular thing, I probably wouldn't make this for like a group of people, but for just me on my own, you know, kicking back on like a super lazy weekend, gonna watch all of the episodes of something on like Netflix, I'm coming after this. I mean, you can't really go wrong with melted cheese. That being said, the other little negative thing, which really isn't anything of note, it's very similar to the like green versus white mint chocolate chip. To me, queso is white. And this is orange, obviously, because I put in orange mild cheddar, but I couldn't find white mild cheddar. All I could find was like white sharp cheddar. So maybe trying different cheeses would also be a fun little experiment. But it being orange, just like in my head, kind of says like, oh, this is nacho cheese, not queso. Don't know if there's actually a difference Well, I mean, nacho cheese, I'm assuming is purely an American processed food versus queso being like an actual dish. I don't know, but this reminded me of that just visually, which, you know, first tasted with your eyes, but the second taste with your mouth, delicious. And because of those shortcomings, it's not quite out of the park. It's close. It hit the back wall, but it's tasty. I'm excited to eat a whole bunch more of this. I'm probably gonna make myself sick. I'm gonna be like that mouse from Richard Scarry's, which, if you know that reference, we're not best friends. And on that note, bye mom, still not dead. See ya.